Hey, happy Wednesday. I know that we are all dressed kind of wacky today for Wacky Wednesday. Got my taco shirt on and my cool Sharks hat on. Show you the front. Favorite Sharks hat ever. But I'm wearing it backwards because I'm trying to be a little bit wacky. Okay, I'm gonna get us started. I want to go over the Google Doc from yesterday. I looked over all of the answers that I got, and I had a few questions that I wanted to go over with y'all before I read the book for today. The book for today is very long. I may cut this video in half and do the second half tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. Before we start reading that book, I want to go over the STORY that was in the story yesterday. So this was one of the questions right here on the screen, and what story element is included in this text? So remember, this is from the story yesterday. The princess looked around. She looked into the well. An ugly little frog was looking up at her. The frog asked again, "What is the matter, princess?" Many of you got this correct, and you said that the story element was the talking character, and that would be correct. Because we are now meeting a new character in this part of the text, and we're seeing some dialogue that we can tell it's dialogue here from the quotation marks. Do that with me, quotation marks. And that we can tell when there's a new talking character, when we're seeing that dialogue, we're seeing those quotation marks. Let's go to the next question. Which story element is included in the text? This was where I saw a lot of mixed answers, and I wanted to just go over this one. What story element is included? When she saw the frog, she shut the door quickly. So many of you related this part of the text to the problem. And you're right. I mean, that is a problem that she's having to close the door. She's trying to get away from the frog. But this was actually her attempt to solve her problem. So I know many of you, as you're reading this book were listening along while I was reading yesterday, were probably thinking either the problem was she lost her ball, because you do kind of go, oops, there's a problem when she loses her ball. But the real problem in the text is she promises to be friends with the frog, and then she goes back on her promise. And the frog's like, hey, what's going on? You told me we could be best friends. I'm following you now. So this is a way this page here is actually her trying to attempt to resolve her problem. That's when she tries and tries, but it doesn't get fixed, right? Because just her closing the door doesn't get rid of the frog. Cool? All right. So if you put problem here, just think about it for this book today, since this book is longer. Really pay attention to the main problem that our character is going through. And many of you had really awesome lessons learned, and most of you were like, yeah, you have to keep your promises. If you promise something to someone, it's important for you to keep those promises and follow through with what you've told somebody. So I thought that was awesome. Kudos to you guys. And now I'm going to jump into our next fairy tale, which is called A Frog Prince. So kind of similar to the one yesterday, but this one's a lot longer. It's less cartoony, but it is still a fairy tale. I talked briefly about the characteristics of a fairy tale yesterday, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that today. So I can try to get through reading this book, but again, we are paying attention to the STORNY. I'm going to sing it one more time for you guys so you really remember. And I'm only going to do this STORY lesson maybe one more day, because I want to move us on to some more challenging things, but I really want to make sure 100% of us are understanding how to pull out the story elements. So sing the song with me. Ready? Are you ready? You sure? Okay, sing it with me. On three. 1, 2, 3. STORY, a story, a story. STORY, a story, a story. The setting, where and when the story takes place. The characters, the characters. People, animals, or objects who talk or act in the story. Oh, oops, there's a problem. Oh, oops, there's a problem with the character wants or needs but cannot have. R attempts to resolve the problem. The character tries and tries, but it doesn't get fixed. Why, yes, there's a solution. Why, yes, there's a solution. How the problem gets fixed. Great. Let's get started. Already I'm looking at the front cover of this book and I love the illustrations here. They're very realistic while still being kind of fanciful and exciting. I can tell this book is a fantasy, is a fairy tale book because I've never seen a horse. I've never seen a frog riding a horse, right? Have you? If you have, you better message me and take a picture. A Frog Prince is written by Alix Berenzi, and we're going to go ahead and jump into the text. What's cool about this book is actually it says it's written and illustrated by Alix. So he did not just write the book, he also drew all of these amazing pictures. All right. This book is long. I'm warning you, if you need to pause, go potty, take a break, do it. Cool? Cool. Once upon a time, there lived a frog who loved a princess. From the edge of his swamp, the frog would watch the princess as she played in the royal gardens. She never came near the water, but the frog liked to admire her bright silk dresses and hear her careless laugh. Ha 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 ha. On warm summer evenings, he sang love songs to her in a deep, froggy voice. But the princess never seemed to notice. One day the frog was sitting in the water, his eye on a fat black fly, when he heard the sound of sobbing. He could hardly believe the princess he saw, crying and lamenting at the water's edge. Oh no. Quickly he swam over to her and asked, "What's the matter, princess? Your tears would move a heart of stone." The princess glanced down at him. "My lovely golden ball has fallen into the swamp," she wailed. Then an idea came into her head. She squeezed even more tears out of her eyes and said, "If you get it for me, I shall let you be my friend. You will eat dinner with me at the castle and sleep there too." The frog was thrilled. Though he gladly would have retrieved her toy without a reward, he popped his head under the water, found her ball, and threw it onto the grass behind her. The princess was filled with joy when she saw it. She picked up the ball and ran off. I'm noticing some similarities in this story to the one that we read yesterday. I'm seeing a lot of things here are very similar. They're very much the same. They're very much the same, right? Think in your brain, what has just happened in the story that happened in our story yesterday? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Think about what happened in the story yesterday and what's happening in this story and how those two relate and how are they similar. I'm going to stop here in this beautiful picture. Take a second to look at this princess. Remember, she's wiping her tears away and she's like, "If you go and help me, you can live at the castle with me. You can eat with me." Let's keep reading. At dinner that evening, the frog eagerly knocked on the door of the castle. The princess opened it, but when she saw the frog, she shut the door again very quickly. The queen was sitting at the table with all of his courtiers. He had seen the frog and overheard what had happened in the garden that day. "What you have promised, you must honor," he said to his daughter. "Go and open the door for him." So the frog came in and excitedly jumped onto a chair next to the princess. He had a very good time talking with all of the company. Everyone ate a hearty dinner except for the princess, who would eat nothing at all. After dinner, the frog politely asked where he was to sleep. The princess began to cry, for she did not want the clammy frog in her pretty room. But the king became angry and said, "You must not despise anyone who has helped you when you were in need." I'm going to read that line one more time. And that dialogue is very important to understanding what we're supposed to be taking away from the story. So I'm going to read it one more time. The king became angry and he said, "You must not despise anyone who has helped you when you were in need." Rocketeers, despise is a very big word. It's a juicy word, and the juicy word just is another word for hate. You must not hate anyone who has helped you when you were in need. I'm going to go back to this page here. And I can tell a lot about this princess just from her body language here. What are you noticing in this picture? What does that tell you about how she's feeling right now? What does that tell you about what she's thinking about the frog being at her home? Let's go ahead and keep reading. The princess seized the frog by the wrist, pulled him up the stairs, and flung him into a corner of her room. "Sleep there if you can, you hideous toad," she cried. "How could you ever be the companion of a princess?" She thrust a mirror at him and shrieked, "Look how ugly you are." She stamped over to her own silken bed, leaving the frog huddled on the floor. The frog looked closely into the mirror, yet he could see nothing wrong. All the same, he felt as if his heart were broken. That very night, he dreamed the moon was singing to him. You guys do a little broken heart? I'm sad for this frog. Let's sing the song together if you can. Little green frog alone at night, beauty is in the beholder's sight. Follow the sun, then follow me, to lands beyond across the sea. In another kingdom you shall find a true princess of a different mind. Ooh, I feel like we really need to read that and kind of decipher what that means. Let's read it one more time. Think about, what does this mean? There's a lot of pretty words here, but I think they have a deeper meaning. Little green frog alone at night, beauty is in the beholder's sight. Follow the sun, then follow me, to lands beyond across the sea. In another kingdom you shall find a true princess of a different mind. Keep that in mind as we keep reading, okay? Here we see the frog looking in the mirror. The next morning, the frog came down the stairs and met with the king. "I am going out into the world to seek a princess who can see good in me," said the frog. "I will follow the sun and the moon to find her." The king liked the frog and wished to make amends for what his spoiled daughter had done. "Let me help prepare you for your journey," he said. He ordered his tailors to sew beautiful clothes for the frog. A prancing white pony brought from the stables. When the frog had been royally dressed, the king himself lifted him onto the saddle. The frog felt very proud and handsome, almost as if he were a prince. Just then the princess came down the stairs. She saw the dressed up frog and burst into laughter. The frog sadly bowed his head. He rode away from the castle into the forest. Look at this picture before I move on. You see the frog, the pony, the king. Remember, they said the king liked the frog and wanted to make amends. That means he wanted to make things better. He knew that his daughter was spoiled and rude, so he wanted to make things better for the frog. Take a quick picture of this page, think about it while I go ahead and read on. Following the sun by day and the moon by night, the frog journeyed on his pony. On the third day of his travels, he came upon two trolls. They clutched a golden bird cage between them and with their free hands punched and pummeled each other viciously. Within the cage, a white dove was dashed against the bars. The frog saw that the helpless bird would soon be killed. "If you let me hold the prize, you will be able to beat each other much better," he called out, pretending to be helpful. The trolls glared at him with wicked red eyes, each thinking that the prize now included a fresh frog dinner. They gave the cage to him and fell to fighting even harder. Finally, with two tremendous blows, they knocked each other dead. The frog breathed a sigh of relief. He opened the cage and the dove hopped out. "You are a very clever frog, Prince," he said, bowing. "Thank you," said the frog, "but I am not a prince, only a dressed-up frog." "Be that as it may, I shall repay your kindness," said the dove, and he flew off. Let me go back here so you can kind of see what was happening again. Oh my goodness. The frog continued on his way. After a while, he saw a thin line of smoke rising above the treetops. When he came into a clearing, he saw a great black kettle with a fire burning underneath it. Dancing around it was a green-faced witch. She muttered incantations as she danced and threw mole's teeth and toad warts into the boiling water. All at once she tossed a small, struggling turtle toward the brew, but the frog, quick as a wink, flicked out his tongue and caught the poor creature on the end of it. The witch shrieked with fury. She was not happy. The frog slipped the turtle into his pocket and he plunged into the woods astride his pony. The witch scrambled after them, screeching curses and trying her best to cast a spell as she ran. The little horse was so terrified he galloped like the wind, and they began to outdistance the hag. But as they ran, the forest grew darker and darker, and darker still. The witch had managed to cast a spell upon the trees, making their leaves grow so thickly that they blocked out the light. In complete darkness, the pony could only stumble along. Whoa. I'm already liking this story way more than the version we read yesterday. What do you guys think? It's pretty exciting. The frog heard the witch crashing through the bushes and getting closer. He puffed out his throat and cried out to the forest for help. Soon the air was filled with whirls of wings, and the white dove appeared along with hundreds of birds from all parts of the forest. Together they pecked away at the leaves, creating a trail of sunbeams in the dark woods. The frog galloped through, and when the witch tried to follow, the birds flew down and packed her to bits. Whoa. So who came back to help the frog? Who was it that came back to help the frog, and why did they come back to help the frog? Think about that, Rocketeers. Who came to help the frog, and why? The frog rode towards the sun until he came to a great misty ocean and could go no further. But the little turtle peered out of the frog's pocket and squeaked with joy, for this was his home. "You are very brave, Frog Prince," said the turtle, "and I shall repay your kindness." "Thank you," he replied, "but I am only a frog wearing fancy clothes." Take a second again. Now we see someone else helping the frog. Why do you think they're helping the frog? How do you think this helps us understand what the lesson is of the story? Let's keep reading. The turtle paddled off into the waves. For a long time the frog puzzled over how he and the pony might cross. Then he saw the head of the little turtle appear out of the surf. Behind him came hundreds of other turtles. The largest one of all pulled herself up onto the shore. I shall carry you and your horse to the land across the sea, she said. With all of the others swimming along beside, the turtle carried them over the water, and the grateful frog was able to continue on his way. Days and nights passed as the frog traveled on his pony. By day, the sun beat down on them. They were covered with dust and scratched by thorns. By night, they tripped over rocks and heard the cries of unseen creatures in the woods and in the air. It was a long and weary way, but the frog was determined to find the princess in his dream. On the seventh night, the moon suddenly disappeared, and the darkness horse and rider collided with something hard and rough. The frog ran his fingers across its bumpy surface. It seemed to go on forever. As he was wondering what it might be, he saw a beetle scurrying along the ground. Tell me, began the frog, what is this that blocks my way? The beetle came to an abrupt stop, cocked his head, and stared up at the frog. It is the end of the world, of course. What do you think? He exclaimed. The beetle scuttled off. The frog felt as though a rock had been dropped on his heart. Despairing and exhausted, he lay down on the ground, pulling his crimson cloak around him. The tired pony leaned against the end of the world, and soon they were fast asleep. Take a second, Rocketeers. How do you think the frog is feeling right now? Yeah, he seems pretty upset. He seems disappointed. He seems like he's lost hope. Let's keep reading. The sun was rising when they awoke. In the early morning light, the frogs saw that the end of the world was not the end of the world at all, but a vast stone wall. And just over the top, he could see the towers of a great castle. This must be the kingdom of the princess I'd been seeking, he cried excitedly. He set the horse free in a nearby meadow. Then he crouched down, took a deep breath, and sprang upwards. Up and up he went over the top of the wall and disappeared. The frog landed with a hard bounce in a courtyard. He hopped through an open window into an empty ballroom and made his way down along a silent hallway. He came to a stone staircase winding around a tower. He hopped up the stairs one by one. At the very top of the tower was a door. The frog slowly pushed it open. Within, he saw a bed draped in soft velvet. In the bed, fast asleep, was the most beautiful princess the frog could ever have imagined. So here we see that vast wall, and he went up. She was so lovely, the frog hardly dared to approach, but as he gazed at her, he could not resist leaning down to kiss her. The princess slowly opened her golden eyes and sat up. Is it morning already? She asked. Then she saw the frog standing there. Where have you come from, Frog Prince? She said in wonder. The frog told her of his adventures and how he had finally come to find her. But I am not a prince, he said, only a common frog. The princess looked upon him with shining eyes. Your deeds have been noble, she said. It is not what we do, proof of what we are. With all of my heart, I believe you are a real prince. Then she added shyly, certainly you are as handsome as one. I'm going to read the dialogue in this first paragraph one more time. It's very important, Rocketeers. The princess looked upon him with shining eyes. Your deeds have been noble, she said. It is not what we, is not what we do, proof of what we are. In all of my heart, I believe you are a real prince. Is not what we do, proof of what we are. That's a very important statement, friends. And that's going to help you come up with another lesson learned. There's several that you can pull out from this text, but this one probably seems to me the most important here. Is not what we do proof of what we are? The frog blushed a deep green. When he had recovered, he said, I shall love and honor you all the days of my life. Then let us be married, said the princess, for she too had fallen in love. They hopped down the stairs together. All of the servants who had been asleep in their rooms came out and rejoiced when they saw the lovely couple. Salamanders rang silver bells, and the old turtle cook prepared a fabulous wedding feast. A great lumpy toad married them and declared them king and queen, as well as husband and wife. And all the company cheered. Then there was a wild dance to the tune of crickets chirping and little tree frogs singing. Everyone danced for 3 days and 3 nights. I just love these pictures. Here we see the turtle cook. Here's the happy couple and their wedding cake. The frog soon forgot the king's spoiled daughter and his unhappy time with her. His love for the frog queen grew, and they reigned together in peace. The frog king and queen lived happily in their castle in that deep wood, and I would venture to say that they are living there still. I loved this book, Rocketeers. I know it was very long, and I'm so sorry. I hope you took a few wiggle breaks like I mentioned. I saw so many things in this book that really rang true and made me think about the bigger idea of this text. What was I supposed to learn as a reader? And I didn't just see one. I feel like I could pull out 3 to 4 to maybe even 5 lessons in this book. Definitely like 2 to 3 really big lessons that we should learn as people. And they all came out of this fairy tale, out of this make-believe story. So please watch this video and really dissect the story and think about what can you learn as a reader, because that's why we read. I am going to ask some questions about the theme or the big lesson that you learned from this book, but I'm also going to go back and kind of think of the STORY in the Google Doc. So make sure you also click and answer those questions in the Google Doc. I'm going to try to make the beginning of my videos a short review of what the questions that you answered the day before were. Thank you so much. Goodbye, Rocketeers.